When I was invited to speak at a TEDx event, I was beyond excited. It's a huge honor to be able to share your ideas on such a prestigious platform, and I knew I had to make the most of the opportunity. But as thrilling as it was also pretty daunting. How would I deliver a compelling talk that would engage the audience and leave a lasting impact? In this video, I want to take you behind the scenes of my TED Talk preparation and share the strategies I used to go from a bundle of nerves to giving a talk that got me voted as the best speaker at the conference, despite some interesting obstacles I had to deal with on the day. So let's go behind the scenes. The first and most important step in my preparing for the TED Talk was to identify my central theme, which helps to ensure that my message is clear and concise. As the saying goes, less is more. It's better to have one clear and well-defined message than to have many convoluted and confusing ones. Think about it. When you're trying to communicate a lot of different ideas, it's easy for your audience to get lost in the details and miss the main point. By focusing on a central theme, however, you can make sure that your message is easy to understand and engage with, and that your audience walks away with a clear takeaway. In my experience, taking the time to identify the central theme was one of the most important steps in preparing for my TED Talk. It helped me stay focused, organized, and on message throughout the entire process. I started figuring out the central theme by jotting down all the ideas I had related to the world of entrepreneurship, which is of course what I wanted to speak about. I wrote down everything that came to my mind without censoring any thought, no matter how crazy or disconnected it may have seemed. This process helped me generate as many ideas as possible. After making this list, I began clustering the ideas into possible themes. I looked for patterns and connections between the ideas to find a common thread that ran through them all. By doing this, I was able to narrow down the list of themes until I had a manageable number of options to choose from. I then spent some time thinking about the audience I would be speaking to and what would be most relevant and engaging for them. This helped me select the most suitable theme to pursue. Ultimately, I was able to identify the central theme that I wanted to focus on: building a life of freedom. It was actually quite a big moment in the process for me because it gave me a clear direction and purpose for my talk. Next, I felt developing a framework for the central theme was important, as it would allow me to present my central theme in a clear, organized, and easy to understand manner. Simply presenting building a life of freedom in isolation would have been too broad and way too abstract for the audience to connect with. Therefore, I developed the Freedom Jigsaw framework, which had 4 jigsaw pieces coming together to create a comprehensive picture of what building a life of freedom looks like. By developing this framework, I was able to make my central theme more concrete, relevant, and engaging for the audience. Each of the jigsaw pieces represented a specific aspect of building a life of freedom, and by discussing each one in detail, I was able to provide the audience with a comprehensive understanding of my central theme. But I didn't want this framework to be just another abstract concept. I wanted to add more color and personality to it. That's why I decided to use my personal life as an example of how the Freedom Jigsaw works. By sharing my own journey towards achieving freedom, I was able to show the audience that this framework was way more than just theory. It was something that could be applied to real life situations as well. After identifying my central theme of building a life of freedom and developing my framework called Freedom Jigsaw, I realized that there was an underlying emotional thread to everything I wanted to say. As someone who has personally experienced the ups and downs of pursuing this life of freedom, I knew that it had been an incredibly lonely journey at times. So I decided to use my personal story as an example to illustrate this point. During the talk, I shared my own experiences of feeling lonely on my journey towards freedom, and how it was only after I found a supportive community that I truly began to thrive. Then, to really drive the point home, I asked the audience to join me in a visualization exercise. Yes, of course this was a risk, but entrepreneurs are risk takers by nature. We know that no risk means no return. And through the exercise, I wanted the audience to truly feel what it was like to be alone and bring to life how terrible that feeling of loneliness is. By connecting my personal story, the emotional thread of loneliness, and a powerful call to action, I was able to leave a lasting impression on the audience and inspire them to take action towards building that life of freedom with a sense of community and support. My script writing preparation ended with the beginning, the hook. A hook is like a fishing line that catches the audience's attention and reels them in. It's the opening of your TED Talk, and it needs to be compelling, unique, and intriguing. If you don't have a good hook, you risk losing the audience's attention and engagement from the very start. For my TED Talk, I wanted a hook that would grab the audience's attention and set the tone for the rest of the talk. I decided to use humor to hook the crowd and a personal story that tied into the central theme I wanted to share. By starting with a relatable, engaging story, I was able to draw the audience in and build an emotional connection with them early on. After developing my script, it was time to start practicing. So I recorded myself over and over again, reading the script out loud and listening to the recording to identify areas where I stumbled or the flow was not quite so smooth. I made some changes and recorded myself again until I was satisfied with the delivery. However, I didn't want to practice it so much that I became robotic or scripted. Instead, I wanted to be able to deliver the talk in a natural, conversational manner that engaged the audience. So I practiced just enough to feel confident with the material and my delivery. It's easy to get caught up in the desire for perfecting everything, but I knew that obsessing over every word and every gesture would only add unnecessary pressure and stress. Instead, I wanted to be able to enjoy the moment and connect with the audience. And the best way to do that was to be relaxed and confident. So I practiced enough to feel prepared, but also allowed room for some spontaneity and improvisation. This helped me to stay present in the moment and really connect with the audience, rather than just going through the motions of delivering a rehearsed talk. After all the preparation, something was bound to go wrong, and it did. As I was delivering my TED Talk, the unthinkable happened. The presentation that visualized the Freedom Jigsaw failed to work, leaving to use my hands and the audience's imagination to figure out what the jigsaw might look like. Then, as if that wasn't enough, the lights literally cut out halfway through my talk, plunging the stage into darkness. I was caught completely off guard, but I knew I had to stay calm and focused. So I took some deep breaths while the lights were off and told myself, I had to deliver my message no matter what obstacles came my way. And in the end, it all paid off. I was voted the best speaker of the event, but much more importantly, I got some wonderful feedback from audience members and other speakers at the end of the conference. If you want to see what all this preparation led to, check out my TED Talk right here.